Hello, welcome to Love Surf Connect. I am Alfredina, and today I want to talk to you about two people, Joseph and Moses, and about you if your world has ever fallen apart. Or if not, just put it in your back pocket for when something happens, because in this world, something always happens. And the title is, well, let's see what God does. Have you ever heard the story of Moses and Joseph? They're great, but I'm going to just focus on maybe a little bit of the negative, right? So Joseph is easy to know the negative. He was the favorite of his father. His brothers were jealous because of the way the father treated him, the gifts he received from his father, in particular, a coat of many colors that his father decided to give him and not his brothers. Um, and so they decided to sell him into slavery, threw him in a pit, and then sold him. And when he was sold as a slave, he ended up in the captain of the guard. His name was Potiphar, in his house as a slave there. And then his wife, Mrs. Potiphar, really liked the young boy, the young man, and she tried to, entice him to help her, out, if you will. And he kept saying no and no and no, but she gets upset and accuses him of abusing her. And so Potiphar believes his wife and throws him into prison. While he's in prison, innocent man, didn't do anything. He gets he's put into the prison, and through his gift of interpreting dreams that God had given him, which was one of the reasons why he ended up in the pit to begin with, he gets released. And he ends up being the second in command of Egypt. So we see the story of this kid going through the most, just going from one thing to the other to the other. And then eventually, everything ends up well for him. He ends up being in control. He has the power to take revenge on his brothers. He saves a nation. He saves his nation. He saves his family. He is the hero. And so let's jump with that to Moses. Same thing. Moses was miraculously saved as a baby. Then he was raised by the daughter of the man who wanted him and all of his kind to die. And then it revealed to him that he is an Israelite. And so he tries to free his people in his own way. And that does not end good. So he ends up fleeing and leaving everything and everyone behind, and going from the palace to being a shepherd in the desert, just wandering around. Right. And from there, which happens to be the perfect place to train if God has something in you, like, I don't know, leading thousands of people through the wilderness. Perfect play. It was a perfect training ground. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't hard for him at the moment to have had it all, and to have felt a call in his life, and then to lose it all. And although we now know him as the Moses of the Exodus, who parted the Red Sea and did miracles and made sticks turn to serpents and all the things that he did, we know him as that. But at that moment, his world had collapsed on him. His world had fallen apart, just like Joseph's had when he was in the prison. He had lost everything and everyone when he was sold into slavery. So these two men are perfect examples of how this world would bring you lots of pain, but also how God has a plan for each and every single one of us, and God's plans do prevail. And that's kind of like what I want to talk to you about today. Oftentimes, we can hear sermons, messages, or read devotionals where we're told to just hold on and believe in God's promises because our Red Sea moment is coming, or we're gonna be like Joseph right now, you're in the pit, but God has the palace for you, and all of these things. And as we're continuing to believe God for what, right? For what? What is it that you are believing God? We can grow frustrated or stop believing. And I think that happens because the expectation is that I want God to do something huge for me, like he did for Joseph, like he did for Moses, like he did for David, and for, you know, put in, fill in the blank with whatever Bible character you identify yourself with. I think that's beautiful. The Bible points us to God, but it also points us to other humans, right? So that we know what God can do through us, and we should never let go of that. But I want to propose something different to you today, and that is that Moses had a call, and God had told him. God preserved his life for this, and God hadn't yet told him how to do certain things. He just went ahead and did it however he wanted it. That's what landed him in the desert. Joseph, on the other hand, was immature with the way he handled his gifts. But he also was told by God through dreams what his end was going to be. The dreams that got him in trouble with his brothers were dreams that God had given him, saying, you are going to be in command and your brothers will bow down to you. Spoiler alert. Once the famine came and Joseph was in charge of everything, his brothers came and bowed down to him. The dream came true. The problem is that from the time that God said it, and from the time that God told the Israelites that he was going to save them, a lot of time went by. From the time that he said it to the time that happened, years tick by. And it may seem, or it may have seemed to them, that they needed to hurry things along. They needed to go ahead and do something, because God maybe was taking too long. Have you ever felt that way, where you feel called to do something, and then when the way you felt it was going to happen is not happening, you try to kind of like force it? Well, I have. That's happened to me. And it never fails that when I try to force something, I end up in a place that I don't want to be in, or um or then God just opens a door when discouragement comes and I can't make it work the way I thought it should. God opens a door, the door that he meant to have opened the whole time. And I knew that, and then I would know that all I needed to do was wait. I think this man went through those things. But where they were, a prison in the desert while they were waiting, says a lot to me. And I learned a lot from them in this. In a prison, you don't have the liberty to just do whatever you want, be with whoever you want, and just have a mind busy with your social life, work, all the things. You're just there. You have yourself and your thoughts, and maybe a handful of other people, because you're a prisoner, and you don't have plans. You're just there counting the days. The same thing with the way Moses was living in the desert. He was a shepherd. He was by himself and his thoughts with sheep. And in that time, it was a time where they could have filled it with a million things to keep busy, or they could have stopped and waited and listened for God. They could have listened to him. And the fact that after their prison sentence and after their time in the desert, God mobilized things so that then they were ready to follow God where he led, and they were ready to receive the steps to the plan that God had put in their hearts beforehand, tells me that something does happen while you are waiting. And so that's really the lesson that I'm learning. And I'm actively learning this. We need to make space in our schedules, in our minds, particularly myself. Like, I need to learn right now. I'm practicing quiet. I'm practicing doing things without listening to something, without listening to an audiobook or being on YouTube, listening to podcasts or whatever it is. I feel my time and my days with so much. And it could be good. It could be not so good, but like there's no point where my mind is just sitting there where God can speak. I've literally drowned out anything that He may want to pour into me because I'm filling every second of the day with something. And in the last few days, I've been taking a little break from that. Like, as hard as it is to do things without listening to something, I'm going to try to either listen to things that point me to God or just go about my day without something in the background constantly. And I have been feeling closer to God than I have in a very long time. And that's when one of the things that He's been trying to get my attention for hit me so clearly. I may want to look for God and get closer to Him so that I can. And I think I said this, and I think I said this to my husband. I said, I want to consecrate this time so that God can use me because I want the power that He promises. I want to help heal people. I want to intercede for people. I want to sacrifice something of myself so that God can use me, so that if somebody comes and they're sick and they ask for prayer, to know that my prayers are going to be answered and all these things. And truthfully, now, just a few days in, I'm realizing how wrong that was. I'm realizing that I was seeking after the power, you know, even if it was to do good, but I was not thinking of, oh, I want to consecrate this time because I want to get close to God. I didn't, truthfully. But He's so faithful that I showed up asking to be with Him, and He has shown me His presence. And I've been feeling His presence. And that is so sweet. Like, it really is peaceful and it's amazing. And my mind is clearer. And, it's up to Him to answer whatever prayers He wants to answer. But it feels so great to know that He's been speaking all along. But now I'm quiet enough to hear Him talk to me, and to hear Him clarify things for me. I've been giving Him the time to give my schedule and be like, so fill it up. And today was one of those days where I was like, this is all I'm going to do. But it was with an open hand. God, whatever you may, whatever you want. And several things happened today that shifted what I had planned to do. And I just went with it instead of getting stressed. I was like, okay, God, I gave you this day. So if that's what I'm supposed to do. And then other things where it's like, I was supposed to be doing this came up, so I couldn't do that. And then I had no other time to do this that I needed to do. And then I got a call saying, hey, why don't you, well, my sister called me and she's like, why don't you drop off the kids? I'm like, that time that I got to pour into these people, that took the time that I had allotted to do this one chore, I can now do because someone else has stepped up. Like, living like this is everything because I don't have to hold tight to my schedule. I don't have to hold tight to what I think I need to be doing. I could just let go and God just shows up. He's there for the little and the big things. So back to Joseph and to Moses and to basically anybody else in the Bible. And back to you, if you want to walk closer to God, it's okay to see yourself and get motivated thinking that God can do amazing things in you and through you, and that there's an end to what you want in life that's bigger than what you could even imagine. We need to get good at wanting big things from God and wanting to see His miraculous works, because He's still the same God that, He shows off whenever you give him the opportunity to show his power. So let him. But don't skip one little thing. This men and this women in the Bible who God um who God did such amazing things from, they did one thing often, and that was that they gave themselves to God. They were there 100%. Moses didn't say, yes, I got this, let's go, trying to be the prince of Egypt and be who God called him to be. Joseph wasn't trying to go back to reclaim his father's possessions and all these things and exact vengeance and run Egypt. Like, they weren't trying to get their own thing and receive what God had. There was total surrender. Now, the good thing for you, the good thing for me, is that the circumstances that happened to them, they didn't choose it, which means that if God wants to call your attention so that you can give yourself 100% for him, to him, so that he can work something through you and for you, he has all the power to make whatever he needs happen to catch your attention. Your job is to let him. And for that, in the New Testament, Paul tells us in Romans 12, that starting from 1 and 2, he tells us what to do. I'm going to read it to you. It says, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. So know that this is your privilege. I was going to say duty, but no, it's your privilege. You get to, if you want to, you get to give him your bodies as a living sacrifice and allow him to do his will in you, which is perfect and will please God. It says, pleasing and perfect, that is his will for you. Just give yourself to him. Every moment of every day, present your body as a sacrifice. And that right there, presenting your body as a sacrifice, is what worshiping God is. Worship is not just putting music and singing it, although that's good. Worship is not attending church once a week, although that's good. Sometimes we don't see transformational power in our lives and we're stuck in the same rut. And I'm speaking from experience because we are giving him ourselves partially. I will give you this day. I will give you this time. I will give you the situation. I will pray at this time. And we have very clear lines of what are God things and what are our things. And one thing that all these people have in common is that before God did the big thing that we now say, wow, look what God can do, they had completely surrendered their lives, whether it was through continuing to wait on God or through discouragement sometimes. There was nothing else that they were clinging to. And so God could show up. And for Moses, he showed up in his everyday job. He was a shepherd and he showed up as a burning bush. And to Joseph, he once again, from boyhood, he had been speaking to him through dreams. And towards the end, what got him out of prison and to be the second in command to Pharaoh was dreams and the interpretations that God gave him. So whether your journey is going to be of, doing whatever and going about your life because you turned away from what you thought God had for you, or because you gave up and you thought that, maybe I heard wrong, or maybe I messed up, or maybe I did something wrong and now I don't qualify to be used by God like Moses. Or if, like Joseph, from your boyhood, from your childhood, you've been walking with God and you've been listening to him, and maybe you don't do things right all the time. Maybe you spoke before you should have, or to the wrong people, whatever it is, but you've believed in the same thing and you haven't stopped believing, but the circumstances around you make you feel like nothing is happening. Don't stop asking. One thing that Joseph kept doing was ask everyone, hey, when you get out of here, would you tell them that I'm free? Like he did not give up. He did not give himself away to his circumstances. He expected for God's word to come true. And his words did not include him being in jail. So he knew that that wasn't his end. So he did not give up. So whichever end you're in or somewhere in between, know that what you can do today to get one step closer to God's good and perfect and pleasing will in your life is to give yourself completely over to him. It's completely surrender every single part of you and watch him work. I'm doing the same. And I hope that I never forget this. The sweet moments with my father. That I may never fill my schedule up so much that I forget how amazing and sweet it is to spend a whole day every day with him. And I hope you find it pleasing as well. And that you work to get close to him every day. I'll see you in the next one.